Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arvindaya. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Today we are, I want to trim down the way the introduction of the subject Om that she mentioned, because Om is something that is extremely dense. And so most of us do not uh, pick up the courage to pursue it and know it. To the extent we, with our intellect, can know it. Experientially and intuitionally, it can be it can be known to a greater depth, but at least some understanding in the intuitionally, I mean intellectually, must be attempted also. I'll begin with a story that happened with mother. The mother was then in France. Somebody from another French gentleman had spent 1 year in the Himalayas, and he had made a small little cottage of his own, and he used to just stay there in that quietude and meditate. One day, one sannyasi came to him and he sat next to him for about hours together. And at the end, he just said Om and departed. And this gentleman, French gentleman, he kept on repeating that word for some time. I don't know what made him repeat it, but he repeated. And he had tremendous amount of feeling. He returned back to France and happened to meet mother. And he narrated this story and chanted this Om in front of mother. And mother said, after hearing that, at last there is a perfect sound. At last there is a perfect sound. Now, this is actually the essence of what Om is. And we have uh, seen that there are a lot of issues involved in our understanding of Om. The primarily what we wonder that what is Om? How come a particular word? How does a word represent Brahman? How does a mere word can represent Atman or the self? What the Upanishads claim? How can this happen? So this used to trouble many, also me. I was just about a beginner. So I happened to ask quite a large number of people as to what do you think is. I really never got a uh, impression that they really know it. And then when you get into this, we get into this search of what is Om, because every scriptural, barring one big scripture, every scriptural uh, documents that we have an Om added to it. When we ask why an Om is added, they say it is out of reverence, out of devotion to the divine, out of this and this and this and that. That also does not really uh, help us to uncode and understand what it is. Just bring her here. So, how does a word can do this? And all these aspects crop up in the mind. And when we find and go get into the scriptures, we find every single scriptures that we have. Search any place, any part of our scriptural canvas, we find Om gets praised there, Om gets eulogized there. But I also must on the move mention that Rigvedic mantras are not accompanied by Om. Generally, we always do this mistake, but Rigvedic mantras are never started with an Om. But all other Vedas, especially Sama Veda, is always chanted along with an Om and with Om packed here and there, packed here and there. As an example, you see, we always chant this mantra, Trayambakam Yayamahay Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. We put an Om in front of it. This is a Rigvedic mantra. And Rig Veda per se does not print Om in front of it. Then we have Vishamitra's Gayatri. We put an Om in front of it. But Vishwamitra in Rig Veda did not put it. These are facts. You go to an authentic print of Rig Veda, not anybody else. Authentic source, you'll find no Om there. But it is not the case. Same mantra, when it appears in other Vedas, Sama Veda, for example, you have Om at very many intervals. You have Om Bhur, Om Bhuva. Also, this way it continues, a huge amount of Om put in between. So, this must be kept in mind also. So, this is how we'll have to decode, try to decode as to how it has happened, what has happened. How come all kind of scriptures all over the world has somehow or the other this kind of a terminology or logo or call it what you may. So it is very interesting to know how come a word represent Brahman? How can it say it is Atman? So we will today try to just tackle this preliminary aspects of this issue, not get into in depth. Depth has to be gone in through over years by self-study. No shortcut to this if you really want to understand. But let us know where to go in search. I'm only showing here, trying to show the doors where you can go and knock. We are not opening the doors. We are only showing the doors where you can knock and find an opening there. So we'll try to see that. How do we know? What is Sri Aurobindo's opinion about how do we know something? And especially of this matter, of this things of this nature. The general formula that Sri Aurobindo has mentioned in his Life Divine, he says the knowledge of the content is contained in the knowledge of the continent. Knowledge of the content is contained in the continent. So if you want to know, you have to go there. So he continues to say, if then we can extend our faculty of mental self-awareness, if we can extend our mental self-awareness to the awareness of self beyond and outside us, we're extending our mental awareness outside us. Atman or Brahman of the Upanishads, we may become possessors in experience of the truths which form the contents of Atman or Brahman in the universe. So the truth contained in this can only be known when you go and dabble with Atman and Brahman. And this has to be done also through knowledge by identity. Knowledge by identity. That also is mentioned. And with this background, let's get into see where we find mention of aspects of Omkar. This is where we see in the ancient scriptures, we find in the Vedas, in the Tantras, in the Vedantas, Yoga Sutra, grammarian's approach, Bible, and even in Quran. All this, all this are just a few. All this is just a few. You go to whole lot of, for example, Bhagavad Gita I have not listed. Brahma Sutra I have not listed. There are a huge amount of sources from which this can be tapped and understood, and uh, some extent of palpably you can feel that, well, this is Om. That attempt we must make. Now here is a diagrammatically I have shown that if this Om, which is in the other end of the arrow, head of the arrow, is a combination of, as though that these things have come as a tributaries and joined and formed a big river like Ganges, and that leads to the Om. Everybody's approach is slightly different, naturally. Nobody is same, but his approach and understanding is same. But they all contribute. That means what I mean to say here is, if you read the Vedic alone, that may not be adequate. Vedanta is required, Tantra is required, Yoga Sutra is required. Grammarians have their own approach to Brahman. Please understand this, the grammarians, Vartari, etc., they have their own approach to Brahman. There's different than the Brahman that we talk about amongst us. They talk about Nada Brahman. Tantra talks about Nada Brahman, they talk about Sabda Brahman. Tantra, who is here, he talks about Nada Brahman. You know that famous sloka, Bindu Nada Kalatita. So that Nada, that is from Tantra, and that Nada Brahma is also.
What is the phrase of Bindu Nada Kalatita?
You go to Guru Gita. In Guru Gita, you will find that this whole sloka is a huge range of sloka, and that is beautiful as a propitiation to the Guru. Now we will try to understand a bit. There are three ways to understand Om. Three ways to understand Om. What are the three ways? One by the name, one by symbol, another by support for meditation. So we need to go through some of this and that properly to get a bigger and larger and more complete, though mostly incomplete aspect. So these are called in Sanskrit Avidhana, Pratika, and Alamban. Alamban is support, we know. Avidhan is a very important word in the context of understanding Om. I would like you to remember this, Avidhan and Avideya. These two terms I will repeat again and again so that it gets into us. You'll find it too much of a repetition, but the purpose is that we must know that. Name, symbol, support for meditation. So we need to I'll be touching on different aspect without pointing out that this is a symbol, now it is a name, now it is a support of meditation. You will see that. Now in Tantra says, now who says this? John Woodruff. Those who have, like Mrs. Mane, is quite familiar with John Woodruff. She has studied John Woodruff's text. John Woodruff is, though his name is foreigner, he is an outstanding tantric scholar, practitioner, and experiencer in India. He's no more, of course. He's passed away, but his books are authoritative. Authoritative. It cannot be contested. So whosoever wants to read, because most of us cannot read Sanskrit, so we can go to his books. He quotes a lot of Sanskrit slokas there also, but he does a lot of writing he has done on this. So he says that the waves, as all else, are mantra. For mantra, in its most basal sense, is the word viewed as and in its aspect of sound. Remember what Mother had said, the most perfect sound, aspect of sound. But we must distinguish between natural name in its pure sense as the sound of the constituent forces of a thing and the sounds made by things when so produced. That means he's saying that you have to distinguish sound. When I say sound, it is not that just that sound that I hit and there's a sound. This he calls dhani. He doesn't call it as shabda. He calls it as dhani. So he's talking about that when you are giving a name, that name must be the natural aspect of the person which is being named or the thing that is being named. That means we call this a stable in English, but we have no reason as to why it is called table. In the school, we have been taught that this is table, this is mic, this is sofa, and we memorize it and we use it as a uniform name throughout the world. But that is not what we do in our understanding in the context of our scriptures. They say that name that is to be assigned to a particular person must align with the truth of that being. It is not that arbitrarily you give something else. It must be appropriate and correct to that. And so that is called natural name. Take, for example, we say Pankaja is lotus. Why you say Pankaja? Because it is born out of the mud, Panka. Here, of course, there is a slight deviation which I am not going into, but that is what he means, John Woodruff, that it must be a natural name. And so he says, he has written a very beautiful book called Varnawala, Alphabets. All sounds and therefore the movements from the garland of letters. He calls that as a garland of letters, which is owned by the Divine Mother, from whose aspects as Om or the general sound, Shamyaspanda, of the first creative movement, all particular sounds and things come. So from a particular sound, everything else is coming. What he's saying so far? For all things may be rendered in terms of sounds. The universe is movement, the letters of the sound of the particular movement. Those who have studied Sanskrit, they understand this, that these alphabets, all the alphabets that we in Sanskrit, the alphabets which are there, they all of them have a specific foundation vibration. And to mention this, that in the in the various chakras that we have, there are petals of the lotus which is located. And total number of petals are 50. Total number of petals are 50. Each petal is a seat of an alphabet, which they call it Vijamantra. Is a seat of an alphabet. That means in Muladhara you have got 4, 6, 10, 12, and 20 and 2. So you've got total 50. And each one has got this. I had presented earlier in one of the presentation that particular which alphabet is where. So these
Muladhara.
4. You will find it in any book. 4 petals in Muladhara. These are audible as the gross letters which Kali, the source of movement, wears as garland around her neck. This is how John Woodruff and everybody else, Sri Aurobindo also, describes it. That these are audible as the gross letters which Kali, the source of movement, wears as garland round her neck. That's the importance of the letters that we were talking about. Now, this Shabda holds the Artha. Artha means meaning, sense. So if this is Sabda, the Artha is inside. And Sabda carries the Artha. Some people have described, and this has been contested, this simile, but I'm just mentioning this. You take a bucket, and in that bucket, you can put many things and carry them. Any item has got many names. Depending on the usage in Sanskrit, there is no assigned name, one name given to one person. Depending on the context in which it is being used, there are different names assigned to that. So when you go to the meaning of one word, you will find its application anywhere and everywhere different. But they all mean one. That's the greatness of Sanskrit.
Similarly, verb also.
Verbs are roots. Are roots. So you have actually broken down right to the bottom, essential part of it. And then they come out as words, since there are root sound, root sense, root alphabet, and then the flower like a tree wherein families of words come out.
They're all names.
They're all names.
So root is a unique verb.
Yes. Root. Root means not this root that I'm talking about in English. Dhatu.
Dhatu. The dhatu is the name or verb both?
Dhatu is the kriya aspect of a particular word. Okay. So this, he says, in short, I will explain this. What he says, that when from the Supreme, the sound comes, that sound travels through various region, and as it travels through various region, it acquires certain properties, like contextual, tejas, and form. It comes through various layers and it is putting on attires, one over the other. You put on a inner garment, then an outer garment, then yet another outer garment. So like that, it puts on all this kind of a garment around it. And these determine the bhava or the general sensation it creates in the mind of the speaker and the hearer. Kindly note this, speaker and hearer. When I am saying Om, you are hearing Om. How is it that you are understanding what I'm trying to say? That's the point he comes to. So he says, and from that sensation develops its various precise meaning according to the form which it has used to create. So I hope it is clear.
Shabda walk.
Huh?
Shabda is walk.
No, I'll come to that. No, that is within bracket. So I'll come to that distinction between Sabda and back. Wow. Now, we are seeing now that there is a Shakti aspect in this. The mother's power, the creative aspect of the world, as described in the Vedic scriptures, has further extended in the Tantras. In the Tantras, these have been further expanded, where it has been dealt with all its minute details. So the Tantra deals with the aspect of Om extremely in detail and extremely precisely. So it is fairly obvious that the Vedic Vedantic rishis considered the word to be the supreme Shakti which create the whole universe. Remember this, understand this. These are the seed aspects of the whole presentation before we get into the actual presentation part of it. So this Shakti aspect is what is packed into the name, Avidhana, one of the slides that I said in the name, this is packed. Now we come to Vak. The word for the Vedic Rishi is not only a vehicle of certain spiritual truth, but even more. It is the supreme truth itself from which all that is has come forth. As per the Vedic rishis.
So walk is acted only by rishis or we also?
We also. Vak is, for simple understanding, Vak is a terminology used instead of Shabda because it is created created a speech and word vocally. When it is done that way, it is called Vak in simple terms. Now, if you ask whether an animal barking is a Vak, for you and me it is not, for the Rishi it is. Because he understands what is the sense behind. He understands what is the sense behind. We don't understand. So Vak is. So that is how it is. This truth is not a mere static truth, but it's a dynamic truth of the entire reality. So entire reality that you have, the entire creation, entire reality is out of that. It has come out. So it is not difficult to begin to conceive that perhaps Om can encompass everything. Om can encompass. Does it? How does it? Is what we are going to uh, uh, touch upon. Sri Aurobindo observes that this force is the soul of the body of sound. Sri Aurobindo says this is the soul of the body of the sound. And that to this force, this Shakti, the old Vedic thinkers gave the name Vak, the goddess of speech. So rishis called this goddess, who is the Shakti, is as Vak. So we call Vak Devi, etc. Vak is thus the Shakti or power. And by the aid of the power of Brahman, created this universe. That is what we are going to see in some of the pertinent shlokas. Now, we talked about various streams from which tributaries have come and have joined into a huge river. In Rig Veda, in 10.94.1, says, let the slabs of stone speak out loudly, and let the people speak aloud. let we both speak to one another. So he is not restricting the Rigvedic Rishi is not restricting you only to the animals. So that is why if you remember when mother had said that if you drag a table, it makes a sound, it's an expression of distress. So lift the table and put it in its right place. We don't understand why she said this, but she said this and here it is. So we find that it started off the Rig Veda, 5,000 plus, maybe 9,000 plus years back. Now, when you come to the Upanishads, now when I mentioned this Rig Veda, I mentioned only point one, but if you go to that particular sukta, you will find 1 to 10 or so, all of them discuss related subjects with it. I've just mentioned one there. Now, if you go to Upanishad side, you find not a single Upanishad, there is not a single Upanishad is there which does not refer to Om. Hardly you will find. I have only mentioned two of them because these are Chandogya and Mandukya and Kaushiki. But when the question is, these are just few. You have Katha Upanishads. Anywhere you go, Mundaka Upanishad, which we just completed the other day. The Mundaka Upanishad also talks about Omkar. Bhagavad Gita talks about Om Tat Sat in 17th chapter. So we have the discussions on this in this various language briefly on Om. So we will only discuss now on, we proceed on to Chandogya aspect and some of the Mandukas. Manduka is a major, when I say major, mind you, it is the shortest Upanishad with only 12 slokas. So we have to digest that. And Chandogya Upanishad, in 4-5 recensions, it talks about it. Primarily in the first chapter, first sloka, to up to about 12th sloka or 8th sloka, it talks about all these things. So we have to really touch all this for a deeper study, and deeper means deep is understatement. The more deeper you go, more problems will arise in understanding, because the more you know, larger is the island of knowledge. It is said, longer is the shore of island ignorance. Means the moment you know a little bit, you will find you'll be wondering much more. Why is this? Why is this? Why is this? So uh, this is the difficulty. Now, understanding the middle breath as Udgita. I'm not going to read this, but I'll briefly tell you. Udgita is a term that is used in the Vedic chanting. When we are taking in breath in and a breath out and in, between in and out, there's a gap. Udgita, which means that speaking out, he says, starts from there in that gap. And Om is resided there. Chandogya Upanishad, on which Sri Aurobindo is gaga about, he says, the Om resides there. So we find in this Sri Aurobindo, here it is. If we observe ourselves closely, we note that whenever we concentrate intensely on anything, we tend to hold our breath. Many exercises in pranayama include extended conscious control of the breathing with hold introduced between the intake and expulsion of air, what we call as kumbhak, between Rechak and Purak. What we are looking at here are the natural activities of the body and the breath when any strenuous focus of effort is undertaken, which shows us the role of the middle breath in moderating the link between body, vital force, and mind. So, what is he saying here? When we read this in the context of by others, many others, they will tell you that prana is located here in the body, apana is located here in the body, and in between is samana. So even Bhagavad Gita tells you in fourth chapter, the ninth shloka, it tells us that apane yuhati prana. In the 6-7 shlokas there, as to what is sacrifice, what is yajna. In the fourth chapter, he's telling Arjuna that this is called yajna. So one of the yajnas is that in apana breath, you offer prana. And he's talking about that. He's talking about that here. That he has not said those words, but so what we are looking here are the natural activities of the body and breath when any strenuous focus or effort is undertaken, which shows the role of the middle breath, the breath which is in the middle. Thank you. So let's see just two, three of Chandogya sloka. Chandogya is a very big sloka, very big volume, and it is one of the oldest, along with Brihadanyaka Upanishad, is one of the oldest Upanishads. I've just taken 2-3 slokas of this just to say, so that you get a feel that there is something more than what I know. It says, Omiti etad aksharam udgitam upashita. Sri Aurobindo translates it. This is anything that is in blue, incidentally, is by Sri Aurobindo. Worship ye Om, the eternal syllable. Om is Udgita. Sri Aurobindo says Om is Udgita, the chant of the Samaveda. For with Om, they begin the chant of Sama. And this is the exposition of Om. So he says, this is the exposition, description. Now, see, again here in this sloka, don't read the sloka. The summary is this. The earth is the essence of all things, living and non-living. Water is the essence of earth. Plants are essence of water. Human beings are essence of plant. Speech is the essence of human being. No other living being can speak. Rig Veda is the essence of speech. Samaveda is the essence of Rig Veda. And Udgita is the essence of Samaveda. And Om is the essence of Udgita. So sloka number 3 says, the best of all essences is Udgita, the Om. It is the highest and best because it is the same as Brahman. So we see that it is that great, that its status is that. And also, Om is as a Anugya Aksharam, highlighted Sanskrit, Etat Anugya Aksharam. It is an assenting syllable. if you, I have, if you go to some of the discourses or discussions where uh, RSS organized schools, etc., or some discussions on any of the scriptures, if the teacher is saying something, he asks the student, and the student, if he agrees, he says, "Oh," he doesn't say yes, sir. He says, "Oh." So it is an assent, expression of assent. Now, look at this. Sri Aurobindo in Savitri, he has used the word Om at one place. And that is, he has brought out this aspect, assenting Om, page 321 or 320, around that place. It's an assenting Om. And that assenting Om is, he is describing that unless you have assent to this, agreement with this, consent for this, nothing really happens.
We say Astu, that is just yes.
Astu is.
This is more of.
Which one? Om. Yeah, of course. So now let us see something else now. You see, Om is actually a combination of three alphabets: A, U, and M. And when somebody chants Om, between one Om and the next Om, there is a silence. There is supposed to be a silence. It is that silence which is important, not the mere chanting of these sounds. It is not that they cannot be and they should not be chanted. They are unnecessary. But they are indicators of that. They are indicators. Suppose if I point out that's a tree, you can't go to the tree unless you come to the finger pointing that. To that extent, the A, U, and M are important. And that takes you to the silence, which is the Brahman, which is the self. Imperishable silence, ever permanent silence. So here we will now get into this aspect of A-U-M. Now, Mandukya Upanishad, we are now coming into Mandukya Upanishad, leaving the aspect of Chandogya Upanishad. A stands for the wakeful condition, U stands for dream condition, and M stands for deep sleep condition. Of what? Of consciousness. Of consciousness. Not me sleeping and awaking and deep sleep, etc. So it is. So A or A of Om is the external manifestation. U is the internal manifestation. And deep sleep is the inmost seat consciousness. Pragyana Ghana. That is, Upanishad describes as Pragyana Ghana. So that is deep thing. And so we now want to understand this combination that I said, that something is name and something is an object, which that name signifies. If I say that this is pen, a pen, pen is not, the word does not say anything. That Om, that word, actually means an object. Please come here, sir. So the word is a revealer, and what it is going to mean, the artha of it, meaning of it, is the revealed aspect. So when I say AUM is actually can be treated as a name, and what it indicates means that silence is the revealed thing. Am I clear or going slightly over it? Kindly stop me.
The three fingers pointing, here you.
No, no, there's not three fingers. One pointing the second, second pointing the third, and third pointing the fourth. So what I said is this, that a name, suppose is Subrata. I tell Subrata, it doesn't make any sense. Actually, I have written here, see, the word sugar is different than the object sugar. That means if I utter sugar, 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 I don't feel the sweetness. I don't feel the sweetness. So it is not the word that is giving me the sweetness, but it is the thing that is giving me the sweetness. And we buy. And what is the quality of sugar? Why is sugar sweet? Because of consciousness that is there. So we say that I can't feel sweet by saying sugar is sweet, or reading a thesis on sugar. I cannot understand that sugar is sweet. So revealer is Avidhana, as we have saw. The name, say the word Brahman. The word Brahman, it's a word. When you are saying Brahman, you are saying a word. But revealed, what is revealed is Avideya. That is the meaning of the word Brahman. So we must distinguish this. I shouldn't be stuck with Om. I must use Om as a walking stick or a crutch. And when I climb up, I must throw this crutch, because now I have reached the silence. So they say, you got me? They say in Sanskrit, beautiful word. Sanskrit is matchless language, Nothing can be expressed better than in Sanskrit. So there's a term called Vachyartha and Lakshartha. Vachyartha means word, based on word. And Lakshartha means what is your aim? Laksha. What are you aiming at? What are you aiming at? Because such indeterministic, indeterminable, infinite, unmeasurable, ineffable thing cannot be described. So I need something else to bring that to my cognition. How do I do this? We have less time, but if somebody permits, we will. I will bring a story which I have said others to many others, that it happened in Rishikesh, in the ashram of Shivananda, Swami Shivananda. So he was giving evening discourse. So one disciple asked him, Guruji, you are always telling this, this is divine, this is Brahman, this is God and all that. But you are not actually telling us what is God, what is divine. You are telling something else. I'm not understanding it properly. So he continued to talk. I said, okay, I'll explain to you. After some time, he told him that, can you bring me some water? So he brought some water and he kept it there. And after some time, Guruji again asked him, I told you to bring some water. Where is water? He says, there is water, Guruji. He says, that's a tumbler. Where is water? He says, it contains the water. He says, exactly like this. Divine cannot be shown. It has got to be pointed out. And you will follow that. Again, Parthasarthiji in Guru Gita, you have got a word, Tat Padam Darsitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. That means one who shows me that feet or abode, that Guru I am propitiating.
Pointer is the Brahman.
No, pointer is the means by which you will go to that, what is Brahman.
So that object is Brahman.
Object is the name, mango is not the Brahman. I mean, the mango. The mango per se, physically, what is mango is the object. The name mango is not the stuff. So this is the difference between avidhana and avideya.
Avideya is the object.
Avideya is the object. What is revealed? The meaning of the word. Okay.
Our aim is to convey the object.
Our aim is to point out what is the object.
Point out.
Point out what is the object. So to point that out, I am using word. Okay. Now in Mandukya Upanishad, look at this. Look at this sloka. Earth-shaking sloka. Sloka number 1. It says, Om iti edad akharam aksharam idam sarvam. He says, Om is this imperishable word. Om is the universe. That is Sri Aurobindo's translation. Om is the imperishable word. Om is the universe. And this is the exposition of Om. The past, the present, and the future. All that was, all that is, all that will be is Om.
And we conclude Avidaya and they rolled into one in Om.
No. Avidya is, Avidhana
Om
is
is also a pointer. It's also a
Om word.
word. And Om,
What it contains,
substance it is.
Avidya.
That is also Om.
Om has to be split.
Split.
One is word. What are you actually meaning by that?
Brahman.
You are meaning Brahman. That Brahman is the meaning of the word Om. Right?
Both are rolled into one.
Both are contained like this. In a bucket, you are carrying water. Bucket is bucket, water is water.
Together.
But they're not same.
There are two things.
There are two things. To what extent they are two things, you'll have to understand. Are they one? Are they different? Are they equal to one? Are they equal to one? Or are they same? That means, I'm giving an example. Is sun and sun rays the same thing? But one can't exist without the other. They're not equal to each other, but they're one. In that sense, it is being described in Upanishad that this is how it is. Sun and sun rays. Sun rays are emanating from the sun. So Sri Aurobindo goes to translate. Likewise, all else that may exist beyond the bounds of time, that too is Om. So whatever had happened, whatever is happening, what will happen, all that is Om. So this is the number one sloka, and this is shaking us. This sloka is shaking us. And from here, uh, uh, this Advaita Vedanta of Shankara and others take off. Take off means this is considered to be the root fundamental uh, Upanishad from which they move, they grow, they build their theory. Not only this, I'll come to that. So this is what. Now, if you go to the second one, second sloka, it is saying, you see the second line. I have split the first line, and after Sandhi Vichhed, I have written this. Sarvam hi etad Brahman. I am Atma Brahman. Here, the Rishi is saying, this Atman is Brahman. He says, Omkar is Brahman. Now he's saying this Atman is Brahman. So I am Atma Chatuspat. This Atma is of four padas, four quarters. And how is these quarters? How are these quarters? These quarters are not like Upanishads describe it. I mean, the exposition on the Upanishads describe it. It is not, Shankara describes it like this in his Shankara Bhashya. Before him, the same thing has been dealt by Gaudapada. And he says, Gaudapada says, it is like that coin. In ancient days, there used to be coin. The coin is, it was not a coin of this nature. It was split into four pieces. And these four pieces had to be joined one with the other to complete it. So you cannot leave A and only you or anyone left out. It is not this or that, all of them together. That is the way they have described it. So all this is verily Brahman. This Atma is Brahman, and Atman has four quarters. We are not going into greater details. It will be difficult to package it within the time. So we have, as I said, the Vachyartha means word of the Brahman, and Lakshartha is Brahman. Laksha is aim and word. What is the difference? So what is the Vachyartha is AUM, O. And what is this Lakshartha? The scripture says it is Turiya. It is Turiya. It's called Turiya. Turiya, the word means in Sanskrit, it means fourth. The other three are three, and this is fourth. So these four parts of this is one of them is Turiya. You can't come to this Turiya without this Om. So that Turiya is also Amatra. Amatra means there's no measure, there is no alphabet for it. And so it is total silence. So the utterance of Om and the silence after that utterance, before the next utterance is repeated, is the. There is a wonderful story which I am tempted to say that when our Janak Rishi used to visit Yajnavalkya ashram and discuss, and they used to discuss how is Brahman, what is Brahman. Each one is raising the levels higher and higher. So when the king was leaving, he went to his horse and he put one of his leg on the saddle, so that he puts the other leg on the other side. So he asked Yajnavalkya, now tell me, Rishi, where is Brahman? He says, it's between this leg of yours and the next leg when you're putting, between that is Brahman. That means this breath and that breath. Please understand. This breath and that breath. Here, Udgita. That Udgita aspect is highlighting. This is the level of those people. No? So, Omkara is the name of Brahman, Patradapeji, Avidhan, and Avidhanam reveals the Avideyam, meaning of Omkara, such as Brahman, and second sloka says Atman. Omkara and Brahman are related as name and meaning. They're related as name and meaning, like the sun and the sun rays. They're not equal. They are not equal to each other. Right? We must get that. Now, Upanishad describes this Chatuspada, we say four parts. We saw it is four parts at one by one. In sloka number 2, it is Chatuspada, it is Brahman is Chatuspada. What is this Brahman Chatuspada? This Chatuspada has been named in this blue. Virat Vaishyanara, U is Hiranyagarbha and Tejas, and M is Ishwar, Pragya, and silence is Turiya. Now you have heard these names always. We have heard this name. Most of you have gone through these words and repeated this 100 times in many studies. This Virat word is there in Bhagavad Gita. Vaishyanara is there in the Upanishads. Aham Vaishyanara Bhutta in Bhagavad Gita. Pachami Anyam Chaturvidam. Krishna is telling Arjuna that I am the Vaishyanara who is digesting your food that you are eating. So that is our aspect of Om. That is our aspect of Om. And U aspect is Hiranyagarbha and Tejas. Why Tejas? The name Tejas comes from Tejas, and Tejas comes from brilliance and power, etc. And Hiranyagarbha, we know Hiranyagarbha is the middle one between the matter and spirit. And M is Ishvara, the Pragya. And the silence after Om is Turiya. That is called Turiya. These are the Sanskrit words and the equivalent words of the Brahman, parts of Brahman, you may say, or the states of soul, states of consciousness. This is to be understood in that sense. So, this is the Om you have drawn today, Meena, on the floor. Yes. So, top portion is A, bottom portion is U, and this at the back of it, which curls back towards the thing, is the M. And on the top is Turiya. Now, there are many ways the Om is written in many places, depending on the region. Somewhere in that Turiya portion goes on the top of A, somewhere it comes further lower, somewhere it is in between. And there is a rendering also in Swami Vivekananda's case that this M part is not there, this drawing is not there. Rest are all there in the right places. So this is the Om. And what happens is there's 3 spirit states. These are the 3 spirit states. This is waking, this is dream, and this is sleep. You can transit from one to the other and back to that, or back from here to anywhere. So it is like you moving in your house, whether there are 3 floors, ground floor, first floor, or top floor. So you're moving one state to the other state, or 3 rooms. this room, drawing room to bedroom, bedroom to the sitting room or wherever it is. You move to other rooms. So that movement can be done. So these are the three spirit states. These are not, repeat, not the way we sleep in the night, we lie down in the night and dream in the night. No, they are not that. Sri Aurobindo says in his books that we have taken these names because one can relate to it, and more or less things are like that. The description and the properties of the dream state which is called sapna state also, is something like that. In sapna state, if you are dreaming, you can be here and tomorrow you can be in Tokyo. Or in an immediate next moment you will be in Tokyo. You can be in Washington, you can be in Australia. Anywhere you can move in your dream. So that there's no restrictions, whereas the restrictions are here. Physical restriction is there, you are Jagrata, you are awake. So this is a state and this is a sleep state. Here there is nothing. The consciousness is absolutely condensed. Here consciousness is condensed. That's what they say. Pragyana Ghana is one of the terms. Many terms they use to describe this, many terms they use. And so we have to understand that AUM are the soul state, spirit state. Now, Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra, also he says this word, Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. His designator is Om, revealer. He is indicated by Om.
And what is Ishvara? He says.
Huh?
Patanjali also says Ishvara.
That Tasya is of Ishvara. That what Tasya, his. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, if you read the previous slokas, you will come to he says, after describing Ishvara, he comes, Tasya Vachaka is Pranava. So you have to read previous three, four um, mantras, and then you will find that he is referring to Ishvara. In fact, in the speaking tree 2 days back, there was a term.
Oh, yes, yes.
This subject was discussed. What is Ishvara in Patanjali Yoga? You can read that. Good article. Good article. So the word which expresses him is Om. Now again, I'm coming back to see this, that we have now studied that the combination, how they have combined. How they have combined together and come into this. I have not in depth dealt of grammarian aspect because I know it will go beyond time. Now we see the Omkara word has got 4 components, AUM, and which correspond to Virat, Tejas, Ishvara, and Turiya. So the Omkara has got 4 components. Brahman also has got 4 components. Please see this. Why we are equating Omkara with Brahman? We are equating Omkara. This is the issue that we are addressing. That Omkara is there are 3 alphabets, and AUM we have said is Bachartha, direct meaning, and silence is indicated Lakshartha, indirect meaning. So Brahman also has got corresponding form. And if we read this, various authors, various expositions on this, we find that they have been described beautifully how the similarity has been dissected beautifully. So Virat Hiranyagarbha is same thing that we have repeated here, so that it registers in us. Bachyartha has Brahman in Virat and all that, and Omkara has 4 components. So also Brahma has 4 components. They are all this. The 4th pada, not really a pada, but a state, and that is why the Mandukya Upanishad describes first 3 as padas And then it uses the word Turiya. It doesn't, Turiya word means, in Sanskrit, it means fourth. It does not say it is the fourth pada. So why he doesn't say fourth pada and why it is only Chaturtha, there's a huge discussion on that. We will not go into that. But fourth pada, not really a pada, but a state, that is silence, is denoted by amatra. Amatra means what? No word, no symbol, no alphabet, no measurement. And represents the fourth state, that is Turiya. That is the silence. So Mandukya Upanishad objectified says that in the state of it is a state of seeing. You can see in dream and you can think about what you saw only when you wake up. In dream state, you cannot think. A yogi does not think like an ordinary person. He sees. Once a disciple of Sri Aurobindo wrote a letter to him seeking his guidance. Sri Aurobindo replied, I do not think as you do. I see and take from this seeing. Right? He says, I don't think. You think, I don't think. I see it.
I don't understand this at all.
Rishis never thought, they only saw. And from seeing,
Heard too.
huh?
And heard too.
Heard. They heard what they saw. Rishi, the Rishi and word means Kavi in Sanskrit. Kavi means one who sees, seer. So there's a description in Rig Veda about this term, Kavya Satya Shrota. That means the seer is the hearer of the truth. Yes.
And Drashtara is?
Huh?
Drashtara is?
What?
Drashtara.
Drashta is seer. Okay.
Finally, seeing gets in all the things.
Experience.
Yes. When you go higher, at a lower level, you see, you think. At higher level, you see. There you don't see. And till higher level, you don't even see because you are that. You don't have to stand in front of a mirror to know that you are Pathasarthi. Isn't it? You know it. So that is how it is. So there, he knows already everything. So there's no question of seeing some things.
And L1 to L2, we have to go at least.
Huh?
We have to start from L1 to L2. L3 will never.
Yeah, correct. So Avidhana and Avideya, revealer and reveal, is the only connection. They cannot be actually equal. They cannot be equal. Therefore, A and Virat are not actually equal. One is indicating the other. Similarly, other two. Why? Because AUM sound cannot be equal to Virat, Tejas, and Ishvara. Therefore, Vachyartha, Omkara, and Vachyartha Brahma cannot be equal. The limited A can only represent Virat. Now, the sound A is limited. How can it express what is Virat? When Sri Krishna gave that Vishwarup darshan to Arjuna, he was the whole universe. And how can an alphabet only be that, equal to that? So he says it indicates that. So it is something like this. That's a diametrically same thing is put. There is a Jagrata Avastha, there is a Sapna which is outer, Sapna is slightly inside, Supta is still inside, and Amatra is deeply inside. So again, a Vidana and a Videya, and we have the wakeful, dream, sleep, silence, and these are the objects that these symbols indicate. We have seen the symbol aspect, we have seen the name aspect also. So, waking state and dream state. What happens in this? It is gross objects, whereas in dream state, the sense objects are subtle. So, Bhautika Vishayam, that is Sthula, is there, and this is Virat and Vishwa, Virat, and Vaishnara are the Brahman. So, similarly, in the dream state, we have got the reflected consciousness enjoy the subtle objects. Then the very same Brahman as Jiva goes to the second state. Same Brahman is going into second state. And in the deep state, he goes still deeper and deeper, and he is minus cause and effect. Cause and effect is only in the first two, he is minus cause and effect. So, broadly understanding, it's like this: waking, conscious, and gross. And then we have got dreaming, unconscious, and subtle correspondingly. And deep sleep, subconscious, and causal. And fourth is soundless position, is fourth, the absolute. So this is how things are. Now, Gaudapada, you all must have, many of you have know the name. Gaudapada was, who is Gaudapada? He is Guru's Guru. Absolutely correct, sir. Absolutely, Shankara's Guru's Guru. He has written extensively on Mandukya Upanishad. That is called Karika. Now, Karika is a big thing. Mandukya Upanishad has got 12 slokas. Karika has got 217 slokas, which is an explanation
between Bhashyam and Karika.
Yes, I'll come to that. I'm coming. Karika is what? There are 12 slokas in Mandukya Upanishad. To amplify this, Gaudapada has written 217 slokas. For 12 mantras, there are 217 mantras. And these are divided into 4 chapters. Now, after Gaudapada, these are in mantric form, sloka form. Karika is in sloka form. Shankara wrote Bhashyam on explanatory notes. Explanatory notes on prose, but he quotes many slokas from here and there also in that to explain that. The explanation, Bhashyam of Shankara, is in prose form, where some slokas are quoted here and there from Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, this, that, and all that to substantiate his argument. And on that Bhashyam, based on Mandukya Upanishad, Karika, and Bhashyam, Anand Giri has written Tika, explanatory notes. Sri Aurobindo has written that you must read this.
Tika.
Not only Tika. He says, first and foremost, you must understand Advaita Vedanta and then go forward to study others and then take your decision what is correct, what is wrong. He has left it to us. Because then you form a foundation. So he has told that you read Karika, Upanishad, Karika, Bhashyam, Tika. So it's a very interesting study. Unless this study is done thoroughly, repeatedly, again and again, we do not come to it. One of the Gaudapada's, in one of the Gaudapada's 23rd sloka in the first chapter is the sound A helps its worshipper to attain to Vishwa. This is this. Attains to Vishwa. U to Tejas and M to Prajna. In the soundless, there is no attainment. You be that. Okay. And in 24, he says the meaning of Omkara should be known quarter by quarter. This is what I mentioned. It should be known like these four parts of this thing. It is to be quarter by quarter. And he goes on to say that Omkara should be known along with the quarters, as quarters are identical with sound. So that drives the name. What Anandagiri says, I have explained what is Anandagiri. Who is Anandagiri? He says the utterance of the word Om, this is the summary of what I am saying. Summary of today's thing I have extracted from him. The utterance of the word Om gives the clue to the pronunciation of the words or sounds used by human beings. We utter the word Om. When you utter the word Om, we are using the throat A, U, and Ma. We are closing the lips. So the entire range of the vocal cavity is utilized, and any word, there is no other word beyond this. So he is saying the various parts of the vocal organ used in the utterance of sound come in contact with each other while pronouncing the word Om. Therefore, Om is the matrix. He calls it a matrix of all sounds, which is their derived forms gives rise to words used in the language. So the words used comes from there. And he says then that the substratum of phenomena is Brahman. This phenomena that you're seeing, this existence that you're seeing, its substratum is Brahman. On Brahman, this substratum has got up. The substratum of all sounds as seen above is Om. All sounds come from Om. All things come from Brahman. And nothing can exist without its word. And since nothing can exist without its word, indicator, they are all equal. This is the essence of understanding Om. The sounds signify the phenomena are not different from the phenomena as both are illusion. When the illusion disappears, substratum alone remains, which being one admits of no difference. Hence, Brahman is Om. This follows by all this. So, with that I come to today's end.